I remember working with a team who point blank refused to use user stories. They thought it was a bit silly, a bit unnecessary. They just didn't get it. So we sat down with a few of their sample items and I asked them, what is a user story? And we figured out that as an X, I want Y, so that Z is exactly the same as asking, who is the customer, why do they want it, and what are we going to give them? So we looked at their items. All they focused on was what. And I've seen this so many times. Teams love spending time figuring out the what. It's their sweet spot. But if you're not asking one, who, and number two, why, on top of the what, then my point to you is that you don't care who your customer is or why they want something. Because if you did, it would be front and center for everything you do with the Scrum team. And by the way, everyone thinks they need the user story format. You don't. Just put it in a spreadsheet. 3 columns. Who, why, what? I mentioned in an earlier video how user stories are just another way of asking who is our customer, why do they want something, and what do they want. And I said that teams love talking about what they're going to build, that this is their sweet spot. They love figuring out the what, but they have very little interest in the customer and why they want something. And I get asked all the time, why do we need user stories? So here's a thought. By continually asking ourselves who the customer is and why they want an item, it moves our focus from what are we going to give them to what do they want. Can you see the shift? It moves the slider from our desire to the customer's needs. What are we going to give them shifts to what does the customer want. Subtle. To size or not to size, that is the question. So if you sit down with a group of boring agile coaches, invariably one of the debates will be on whether to size your items or not. Is it a waste of time? Is it crucial? So here's a story. I once worked with a highly experienced cross-functional agile team. They ticked all the boxes and they were very proud of the fact that they did not size their items. And one day I was in a planning meeting with the team and someone said, but this item is twice the size of this one, so we should do this one first, etc., etc. And everyone nodded in agreement. And I thought, hang on a second, it's not that they aren't sizing, it's just that they are doing it in their head. They don't need to write it down because they all have an excellent grasp of each item. So be careful when you hear the talk about whether to size an item or not. Along with anything else, you need to factor in experience. And remember, sizing is as much about understanding the item across the team as it is about the actual number.